Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, wrapping up today's show with Hessam Parzivand. He's a regular on the program. And Parza Firm is the website, P-A-R-Z Firm, F-I-R-M.com. That's Parz Firm, I guess is how you would pronounce it if you were to try to pronounce it. And you specialize in labor law. We love getting your insights. We love getting your information. You do an amazing job. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me on the program. That's correct. I do work primarily in the labor and employment field. I can't say that I specialize because that requires a actual certification from the Board of Legal Specialization. But my primary practice area is labor and employment law. My undergraduate degree is in HR from Louisiana State University. Graduated #1 in my class and went on to law school, and that's been my practice area since I've started practicing as a lawyer.
We're going to get an update on what's happening on a very important issue that everyone is talking about. I'm seeing stuff about it virtually every day, not just in business news publications, but in just regular news stories, which is the labor law situation when it comes to overtime law. Talk a little about, give us a little background on the broad rules when it comes to overtime law, the way the situation is now, and how it could possibly change.
So there's a common myth out there that if you are paid a salary, then you are exempt from overtime, and that is not exactly correct. There are particular overtime exemptions, and most people there are some for agricultural employees and people who drive big trucks and things of that sort too. But most people that I deal with, at least, are covered by what are called the white-collar exemptions. And there are 4 of them that are worth noting. There's the executive exemption for people who manage 2 or more employees. There's the administrative exemption for people who are in jobs like HR or safety, who truly implement the policies of the corporation, are kind of office people. There's the professional exemption for people like myself, who are lawyers or doctors, or jobs that require a bachelor's degree in a specific field. And then there's an exemption for computer professionals as well, which covers positions like programmers and software engineers. So the big change is that the exemptions are not really changing in terms of the content of what is included in the exemptions. But what is happening is that for a long time, the salary level to be exempt has been set at $455 per week, and it never got adjusted due to inflation or anything to that effect. And if you calculate that out over a 40-hour week, that comes out to something like $11.50 an hour. And obviously these positions are exempt positions, so the whole idea of having an exempt position is these are people who you anticipate that they're going to work overtime. So what is happening right now is that there is a notice of proposed rulemaking out to change the salary level that is required to be exempt. And it is going to change it dramatically. Right now, the proposal from the Department of Labor is to change it from $455 per week to $970 per week.
Yeah, very, very interesting. That could have pretty far-reaching consequences. What do you see?
Oh, it's going to have a huge impact in retail and restaurants, to say the least. I think what will end up happening is that, retail and restaurant managers will be transformed into hourly employees who earn overtime at some level or another. And I think it'll be a compliance nightmare for a lot of small businesses to kind of get in line with this, because they're probably not paying their office workers, who may or may not be properly classified as exempt, around $50,000 a year. That's a little high for most smaller employers. And Exxon or somebody like that of the world, an admin, from what I understand, gets somewhere around the range of 35. So I would presume that people who who would qualify for exemption are paid pretty well there and are probably above these thresholds. But definitely the small to medium-sized corporations will have to change the way they pay their employees, change them to some type of either you can change them to a salary basis, but a salary basis with overtime, which is kind of complicated to explain. I would prefer to diagram it out, but unfortunately this is radio. And then the other option would be to just convert them to hourly and, figure out, hey, this manager for this Wendy's is going to work 50 hours a week. They're currently getting paid a salary of $28,000. How can we factor it in so that if they do work an average of 50 hours and we pay them hourly, they would end up with the same pay? Mm-hmm. And I think that is more likely what's going to happen. People who are pretty close, like if you had somebody who was earning like 46 or 47,000 a year, and this is a proposed rule, so it's not anything final at this point. But if you had somebody who was earning 46 or 47, probably employers would bump those people up to 50 so that they don't have to keep track of the time. But I think, the biggest problem or effect, or however you want to put it, is that is the time tracking, because we live in an increasingly digital world. People are answering emails, for their job at all times, and time tracking is a huge issue for employers.
So it should have pretty far-reaching implications. You also mentioned before the break some things happening in California that when it comes to leave issues there. Talk a little bit about that.
Okay, so right now, under the law as it exists in Texas, which is covered by the Federal Family Medical Leave Act, employees have a right to leave, unpaid leave, of 12 weeks if they have their own serious health condition, if they adopt or have a child, or to take care of the serious health condition of a parent or child. And so you get 12 weeks of unpaid leave. But two states have made some rather dramatic changes in their laws to allow for paid leave as of late, and that's a big news issue. And those states are New York and California. And basically, it's kind of an interesting system. I thought the businesses would be funding this paid leave. But in fact, whenever I researched it a little bit, it's kind of funded by a unemployment-esque account. So in those two states, I guess, for example, if you had a qualifying event, like the birth of a child, and these laws are not in effect yet. I think they go in effect in New York, at least, it's 2018. I don't remember when the California law goes into effect, to be honest. But basically, what would happen is that you could file for, you're going to pay some additional unemployment-esque tax on your paycheck, and then if you had one of these qualifying events, then you could file for the paid leave with the state, and they would make a determination as to whether you qualify. And in New York, my understanding is it's going to start out at 50% of their weekly pay, and the upper limit is 12 weeks. And then in California, based on glancing at it, it's going to be 70% of salary for 6 weeks. And then for people of higher salaries, it kind of like phases out eventually.
Mm-hmm. Very, very interesting. So any other stories that you're seeing that we're going to be keeping an eye on in the future that you think might be of importance when it comes to employers and their employees?
Well, I mean, one interesting one for is the Supreme Court, and how what's going to end up happening, who's going to get appointed to be the next justice of the Supreme Court. I think it will have an effect on some labor and employment issues. The National Labor Relations Board has been very, very active in trying to defend the rights of non-unionized employees even in various ways by alleging that they're engaging in concerted activity under the statute. And concerted activity means any activity that can, in essence, at an embryonic stage, lead to unionization, such as people complaining about their wages to each other. So there will be, without going into too much detail, I currently have a case involving this issue, but there will be a really, really interesting battle that will eventually make it to the Supreme Court regarding how far those, non-union employees' rights go under the National Labor Relations Act.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. How do we get more information? Give us your website.
It's PARZ as in zebra firm.com, and look forward to hearing from any of your listeners.
Yeah, very good. Thanks for being with us. I appreciate it. When we come back tomorrow, we're going to have much for you. I do want to remind you the show continues 24/7 at priceofbusiness.com. Best content here shows up over there at usdailyreview.com. Have a great day. Spend it wisely on this station.